This is the new Honda Civic. Now in this video, I'm first going to tell you what I think's good about this car, and then I'm going to go on to explain what's not so good about it.
So let's start on a positive note, and how Honda has injected some youthful fun in a car bought mainly by the middle-aged.
So this new Civic is lower, it's longer, it's wider, centre of gravity is lower, and it's also 52% stiffer than the old one. And as we all know, ladies, that a bit of added stiffness is always a good thing, isn't it? And it's definitely a good thing for the handling. So yeah, this is a normal, everyday Civic. I'm on a twisty road. It does drive very well. Although I don't think my cameraman's particularly enjoying it because I'm going a little bit quickly and he might be feeling a little bit sick. Whoa, 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 that'll be the ESP helping me out there.
Also helping keep me on the road was the new multi-link rear suspension. This improves the handling compared to the cheaper torsion beam system of the old car.
Now with a torsion beam setup, the rear wheels are a bit like conjoined twins. They may want to behave differently, but the movement of one will affect the movement of the other. With a multi-link system, it's as though they've had the operation and now they're free to move individually.
Independent rear suspension not only boosts handling, but also comfort.
This Civic seems to be pretty good over bumps. I mean, haven't encountered many because I'm driving in Spain and the roads are as smooth as a baby's bottom. What I can tell you though is the odd bump that I've encountered, it's done a good job.
The new Civic also does a good job of keeping out wind and road noise, and so is quieter than the old car. However, there are still some familiar Honda traits.
Okay, let's start with the gear shift. Yes, short, snappy throws, proper Honda manual gearbox. It's a joy to use. Then there's the brake pedals and the clutch. They've got a good feel to them as well. Then there's steering. So this steering is sharper than in the old Civic. And I'm going to stop actually, there's no one behind me. I want to show you this. It's got a variable rate, so the more you turn the wheel, the more the wheels actually turn. So I've gone from lock, well central to full lock in just one turn. Look, that's centre, and that's all back the other way. So what that means is on a really twisty road, like I'm on now, you don't have to do too much wheel twirling to get round a corner. And if you're in town, that's going to be really handy when you're trying to park or go around things like mini roundabouts. The only thing with the steering, I mean, it's sharp, it's responsive, but it does lack a little bit of feel. But, you know, most buyers ain't going to care about that.
What they will care about is the new tech you get with this latest Civic, such as an improved touchscreen.
So this new infotainment system is much easier to use than the one in the old Civic. In fact, I had an old Civic and I never really fathomed the old infotainment system. But this one you can navigate pretty easily. Jumping between different menus and finding out where you are in the system is just simpler, and the responsive screen really helps out. If you don't want to use that, you can actually control things directly in your line of sight because most of the functions are available through the driver's display, which is fully digital. And you can still plug in your phone, and if you've got an Android phone or an Apple phone, you can use CarPlay or Android Auto.
You can then use Google Maps instead of the inferior Garmin Navi, which comes as standard on all but the entry-level model. And on the whole, the new Civic feels thoroughly modern inside.
There's some nice soft touch materials here on the dash and everything just feels solid. You think this car's going to have that traditional Honda reliability. And then there's a seating position, so your hip point is actually 35mm lower than in the old car. So yeah, it's very, very sporty feeling. And yet it's still a practical car, so you've got storage here, some more storage there, you've got some decent sized door bins in this. Right, let me just slide that back, flip it up. You've got lots of storage under here as well. Look, there's room for our GoPro.
Honda has created some new turbo petrol engines for the Civic. There's a 1.5 litre with 182 horsepower or a 129 horsepower 1 litre, which I'm driving.
So this little engine will be the best seller, and it's going to be perfect for people returning to petrol power who've been in diesel cars for a while, because for a small engine it's got quite a bit of low down punch. The other way it's like a diesel engine is it gives pretty good economy, so Honda claims 58 miles per gallon, which isn't bad at all. Now the downsides that you get with a diesel engine you also get with this a little bit. So it's a 3-cylinder unit. When you rev it, it's a little bit vibey and a little bit gruff. Also, I mean, I like a Honda engine to rev out. Now it does pull pretty strong all the way to its red line. It's just that the red line is not much beyond 5,500 RPM.
Despite this, the 1 litre will do 0 to 60 in 10.8 seconds, which is similar performance you'll get from the forthcoming 1.6 litre diesel. However, in summer, a hot Type R version will arrive with around 340 horsepower for those who like to give their car some boot. Speaking of which,
Honda has only gone and reinvented the parcel shelf. I mean, look at this. This is brilliant, and look, easy to remove, Plus, feeling a little bit fat, you can use this as a makeshift corset. I mean, look at that, much slimmer now. Look, beautiful.
However, Honda hasn't slimmed the Civic's load capacity. It still has the biggest boot in its class. There's underfloor storage too, and heaps more room with the seats folded. It's just a shame about the ridge in the floor. But that's not the only niggly issue.
So Honda says it has increased the space in the back of the Civic over the old car, and if you look at the amount of knee room I've got, I totally believe them. Look, this seat is my usual driving position. Look at that, loads of room. And so I want to sit back and relax to just celebrate. And then, ow, yes, I've just given myself a headache because this sloping roofline and this bar here across the back, it just eats into headspace. My head is resting against it. And I've actually probably just given myself a little bit of a concussion there. People who are tall are really gonna have to slouch and make the use of that knee room because of the limited headspace, which is a bit of a disappointment, really. The other disappointment is, well, Honda used to tell us about how wonderful its flip-up magic seats were in the back of the car. And look, yeah, they've done away with it for this new car, so obviously magic seats aren't all that important after all.
And that brings us on to the Civic's bad points, like the scratchy, squidgy seat materials, the dark feeling cabin, and hit and miss visibility.
Now the view out of the windscreen is pretty good, and while Honda claims that this car has quite thin A-pillars, down here, yeah, it's quite wide, so you can lose things there. Now, side windows, they're nice and big, you get a good view out. And the back window is quite large, but once again, as with the old Civic, it's divided by this spoiler here and the mechanism for the rear windscreen wiper, and things can just disappear in there.
Then there's the design, which is supposed to appeal to a global market. And yes, it stands out, though not exactly for the right reason.
For me, this car is a little bit over-designed. It's a bit try-hard, there's too much going on, too many angles, too much plastic, unnecessary, nasty plastic like that there. This car was actually designed in Japan by a Japanese person, but it's been made to appeal to the American market. And let's be honest now, the Americans haven't had a good-looking car since the 1960s, and that brings me on to the front of this car. See, this black strip, it's kind of like it's wearing guy liner, and it's got too much on. It's looking a bit like a drag queen. Now, I know beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Let me know what you think of this car. Click up there to tell me if you think it's hot or not.
The endless black plastic isn't so obtrusive on other colours, such as this blue car, which, incidentally, is equipped with an automatic gearbox.
The old CVT gearboxes that Honda uses in things like the HR-V are all fart and no poo. And by that I mean that when you put your foot down, you get a load of noise, but no performance. Let's try it in this one. Foot down. Yes, we're moving. Bit of noise, but the revs are rising like a normal auto. Normally with a CVT, you just get the revs constant and then your speed increases. That's why you get the big rah sound. So this one is a bit better, but still, it doesn't feel quite as responsive or as nice to use as a dual clutch automatic you can get in this car's rivals.
That's why I quickly ditched the dull as ditchwater auto and jumped back in the far more fun and cheaper manual, though it still starts from £18,335, which is more than the new Hyundai i30.
The thing is though, you do get quite a lot of kit as standard right across the range. For instance, all cars get a whole suite of safety systems. So there's lane departure warning, and it'll steer you back on track when you start weaving about all over the place. You've also got emergency city braking, it can detect pedestrians. You know, that's not too special. Lots of cars get that right across their ranges. But this one adds stuff like active cruise control, and you don't get that on most cars in this class, not as standard.
And when you compare the Civic with new rivals, it fares very well. It's big, it's clever, and it's good to drive. In fact, it's one of the best hatchbacks you can buy. And if you click on the top right-hand corner of the screen, you can compare deals on the new Civic at carwow.co.uk. Please click on our logo to subscribe and on the windows to watch my Hyundai i30 and VW Golf videos.